Hey there, folks. Another week, another day, another math joke-ish. No, this one's serious. This is actually really cool, something unique that's only able to be done in this point, but also appears a few other places in nature. So if we let A equal to B, and A and B are both variables, and then I multiply both sides of this equation by A, I get A squared equals A times B, okay? And then if I subtract B squared from both sides, I get this expression, A squared minus B squared equals A times B minus B squared. And then I FOIL this expression right here to get this one times this one, and then I pull a B out via the distribution process. All right, this is where it gets a little tricky. If I divide both sides by A minus B, this cancels, this cancels, this cancels, and this cancels. And I get A plus B equals B. Now, the problem with that is, if I look up here, I said A equals B. So essentially, what I just proved was that 2 equals 1. No big deal, but it's pretty legit. So you can comment in why that's technically wrong. But hey, Peter, it's backwards camera, all right? So it can't be backwards. Like my logical fallacy, divide by 0, am I right?
All right, everybody, welcome back to Hipster and Rob Chicago Facebook Live. So this week, something that all of us are extremely passionate about. You might notice us dressing a little differently. I'm sure you guys have seen it all out there on Facebook. It is Dressember. So Matt, tell us a little bit about Dressember. What are we doing?
So Dressember is an organization who encourages people to dress up in order to raise awareness about human trafficking. And so it started out as a woman who found that if she wore a dress, she would be able to start conversations and raise money for anti-human trafficking organizations. And so that spread throughout the past 6 or so years into a worldwide movement to raise money and raise awareness for sex trafficking. And so as guys, we get to partake in it too, where we don't wear dresses, we dress business casual. To do the same thing, we prompt questions of, why are you guys dressing so nice? We three are all engineering students, and so dressing nice is in fact an abnormality. And so we get to tell people why we're not coming from an interview, we're just simply doing this for a cause, and that prompts a conversation right off of that. And then we do it also to raise money. The money gets to go, once it goes to Dressember, it gets split out between the A21 campaign and International Justice Mission, two of the largest organizations battling sex trafficking and human trafficking in general around the world. So that's specifically what Dressember's about.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be, when we post the video at the end, we're going to throw the donation number to find where to donate here.
And to learn more.
And to learn more about Dressember, stuff like that. So we're talking about sex trafficking, and I'm going to go back to Matt again. You have some numbers for us, and maybe even give us a definition of sex trafficking.
Yes, sex trafficking, the definition differs state by state because normally you're going off of a legislative definition. Minnesota, I just pulled this up, Minnesota defines sex trafficking as the receiving, recruiting, enticing, harboring, providing, or obtaining by any means an individual to aid in the prostitution of the individual or receiving profit or anything of value having or knowing reason to know it's derived from sex trafficking. So that's a very legal way to say what it is. Most organizations will say it's getting anything of value from a sexual act by exploiting other people by force, fraud, or coercion. And so it's not just a kidnapping, it's not just a scene from the movie Taken, it's coercing usually women, girls. The average age of entry is often, it's usually said as 12 to 14. They're actually working on new statistics is saying it's probably actually 11 to 13 is the average age. They're dropping it, and it's coercing them to do things and then getting them to become enslaved in this this problem of sex trafficking through continued force, fraud, and coercion. This is a problem worldwide. It happens all around the world. Sex trafficking is the most profitable section of human trafficking, generating about $100 billion a year. $100 billion a year.
The B.
Unfathomable how much money that is. Around the world that might look like red light districts in specific cities or brothels or even legalized prostitution. Sex trafficking happens within legalized prostitution, or the rural selling of people for sexual activity. But it happens here in Minnesota too. We live in Minneapolis, and we're the 13th highest city in the nation for child sex trafficking. There are some new studies coming out that have absolutely blown the doors off of past estimates of what they think sex trafficking looks like here. Newest estimates from some organizations tell that they estimate 3,000 teens are being trafficked in the Twin Cities metro area currently. 3,000 teens, people under the age of 20, right? And that means there might be more above that. 3,000 in our city. Beyond that, there's an estimated 60,000 men who are actively looking to buy sex every day. 60,000. I grew up in a town of 1,000 people, and so I'm trying to picture what that means by multiplying it by the size of my town, and I can't imagine. And then to give a little context of the profitability of why there's financial incentive for people to exploit other people, is that if it's also estimated that if a pimp controls 2 women, they'll bring him in $30,000 a month. So they're making a lot of money because, unlike drugs, you get to reuse time and time again women that you're exploiting. Where in drugs, you sell it once and it's done. And so this is an extremely profitable thing. That's why it's the fastest growing crime in the world. So it's happening worldwide, but it's happening here in our city. I've met people who've been trafficked on our campus, the U of M. We're not in a bubble of just nothing. So it's happening in our city, on our campus, on our blocks, probably. So sorry to get a little preachy on that, but we have to be serious about this, and we have to know that this is a huge problem here locally, and we have to care. We have to.
Yeah. So we know it's here. It's proven it's here. But from a Christian standpoint, right, the point of this is to look at these things through a biblical lens, a Christian worldview. Michael, why should we care?
That's a good question. I mean, why should we care? Why should we care about people? Should we be out there just to get money and die? Or what's the point of life? And that's really, that revolves around this question. But the problem that I have with sex trafficking that makes it so heinous is this. It takes the human out of the person. It rips the identity of that human being away from them. And it dehumanizes them, humiliates, and often makes less. And that's not the point of Christianity. Christianity treasures human life. It treasures it because we are created in the image of God, male and female alike. And it is truly a beautiful thing when we see that God created us to be so much. And what human trafficking does, it says, no, it's not about what you guys or how much you're worth. It's about what I say you're worth.
Yeah.
And that is a terrible thing. And as Christians, we need to fight this because it is kicking back at exactly what the Bible says, is we are created in the image of God. And Christianity even says more, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And that was one of the biggest things I struggled with early in my faith, was I thought of myself as a righteous person. I didn't realize that I was a sinner. And that was a huge thing. And now that I'm a sinner, under grace, I can now operate in caring for people and restoring God's plan for humans. and that is that we are created with a purpose, with a plan, with a reason. And human trafficking destroys that. It destroys it. It says humans aren't worth it.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to care. That's why we need to care.
Yeah. If we seem preachy tonight as opposed to other nights, that is because this is something that, I mean, these guys were involved in starting the group on campus. I mean, this is something we care about, and we ought to. And human beings are not a commodity, right? But we treat it like such, and even if, and this is kind of where we're gonna go with the rest of the, I think tonight, is we've kind of opened up, what sex trafficking is and how it is close to home, and how that directly makes a human being a commodity, right? It takes away them as a human and it makes them something to be purchased. But something that we don't often look at was porn, and yes, we're gonna bring out the big ugly word, porn, and how that really it does the same thing. It twists God's design for intimacy, and it makes that person a commodity to be viewed at our discretion and our pleasure whenever we want. It's what we want, not what God designs. And it turns that person into a commodity. So the other thing that, oh, hang on just a second. Is this yours?
Yes. Sorry. Okay. And can you hand my calculator also? Thank you very much.
This is what you get for living in a house of 10 guys.
Yes. So, anyways, like I was saying, it's what we've been saying. It rips the humanity out of who a person is, right? They're creating the image and likeness of God. That's who they are. And what often we don't see, and what I think I'd like to talk about a little more here is that porn fuels sex trafficking and fuels the trafficking industry. There are a lot of people out there who seem to think that there is this idea of good porn, that there are people who go into the porn industry freely by choice. Maybe they make good money. They're almost celebrities nowadays, right? But that good porn cannot exist. And I think one reason, I think we'll talk about it some more, but for me, it fuels an industry, right? I think if you looked at any person who has purchased a woman, a child, for sex, I would be dumbfounded if that person didn't turn to porn first and found that it finally wasn't enough and moved on to purchasing children for sex.
Fight the new drug is good stuff on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's tons of, they're really inseparable industries. That's what I see initially. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like when you first, for those of you who are hearing this argument for the first time that porn fuels sex trafficking, it sort of sounds like a slippery slope argument, right? Like, people are going to start watching porn and then all of a sudden you're purchasing women for sex, right? That's not what we're saying.
No.
But it is important to see the effect that it does have and how many people who have gotten to the point that they're entering the market for prostitution who have gotten there through the means of pornography. And we'll do some work to cite our sources for a lot of this stuff in the comments after this is done. But I was just reading before this happened a study that was done where they interviewed, it was over 100 people who had been prostituted in 9 different countries, and 49% of them talked about how during their time of forced prostitution they were taken advantage of. Pornography was made of them and then sold to stores and to the major dealers of pornography for the pimp's profit. And so where it's happening a lot. You can't judge whether it's good or bad based off of your perception of it. but we can't deny any longer that there is a connection, and we have to understand that it exists, and we have to mark it for what it is. Porn does fuel sex trafficking, and we can't ignore that any longer.
Yeah. If you just tuned in, rewatch exactly what Matt just said.
Yeah, it's really important. Yeah. You got anything else on that?
Yeah. I think that porn is something that we need to talk about as Christians too. It's not a lot of guys struggle with it. Yeah, we've all seen how that's affected our lives. Women struggle with it too. A great sermon on this was given just a few weeks ago at Hope Community Church. We'll post that in the comments too.
Yep.
Which was I thought was a good example of, from the pulpit, of how to attack this subject, and we often don't hear that because it's a no word within many churches. But it does need to be talked about because it's so prevalent. It's prevalent within every age group now. I mean, when I was growing up, I remember when my dad got a flip phone when I was like 4 years old, and now at our fingertips is the world. So with that accessibility, I think we need to talk about it more, and that's a good resource for Christians if you're looking for reasons biblically on why porn is wrong. That would be something to look at.
Yeah.
And for more personal, like if you're struggling with this and you want to have someone to talk to, we're open to talk to you guys about this. So it's really convicting to hear porn fuels sex trafficking, and if you're someone who's struggling with this, it's overwhelming. The weight that it puts on your shoulders all of a sudden is unbearable. So don't just take that as something to crush you and then just lie under the shame for months and just trying to figure out what to do. Let's start a conversation. Let's see what that looks like and what that means to move out of that. We're not three perfect men who are speaking at you from some righteous couch, I guess. We're broken, we're fallen, and we want to help you see things we've gone through and be a resource for you guys as well. And if we're not it, point you to other people who are. So don't just feel the weight and the burden of the shame and everything that comes along with hearing the depth of the problem, but see the hope and see the redemption that comes through believing the gospel. And a step to that is talking to people about it. So if it's not us, talk to someone about it is the point.
Yeah, like I said, we're here for you guys at any point in time. If anyone out there personally reached out to us, if we're in a position to help you, we absolutely will. Otherwise, we will find someone to get in a position to help you. You, everyone out there, you are created in the image of and likeness of God, and you are not a commodity to be exploited. Jesus bought you with a price, with his precious blood on the cross, and you belong to him. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I mean it.
Yep. We're three dudes on a couch who don't know everything and are nowhere near knowing everything. But this is a conviction of ours because Jesus stood up for the marginalized, because he cared, because he died for us, and he died for everyone, the trafficked and the traffickers. So,
yeah, like we said, this is a pertinent topic this week with Dressember and everything. We're going to be posting as many resources as we can think of. Check them out. Talk to us. If you have any more questions, any one of us would sit down and talk to you about anything we had just talked about tonight. If you're just tuning in, get back to the beginning and watch the whole thing through. Otherwise, you're going to be a little bit confused, to say the least. But yeah, otherwise, I don't think we have anything else left.
Cool. Last reminder is that if future topics you want us to discuss, let us know. And while we're going through these, always feel free to comment any questions you have or side topics you want us to pick up through it. Maybe it's a thing that we said that you agree or disagree, you want us to go more into. We're happy to dive into that. So this will be an active thing.
Yeah.
Any sort of dialogue we can have, though it might be difficult, we'll try to make it happen.
Yeah. Otherwise, have a good week this week. Tune in next week. We'll be throwing out whatever it is we're going to be talking about. Thanks, guys.